What's good, everybody, and welcome to an episode of the Imma podcast with your host, yours truly. He is I, and I am him, the one and only Jai Shields, here on this Monday, the 31st and final day of March 2025, and we got a lot in store for you here on today's show. Recap and analysis and a few takeaways regarding the opening weekend of the 2025 MLB season. Here on a Monday, you can see I got my orange orange Nike jacket, my Orioles Nike tee, and you can't see the white panel, but my home Orioles hat, because at the day and time of this recording, it is the day of the Orioles home opener in the 2025 season. We got plenty to say regarding my Orioles, that's for sure. As the program progresses, obviously, Week 16, the Elite Eight of 2025 NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament is come and gone. The Final Four is set. We'll do two shows for you this week, show on Friday and then a show on today, and then on Friday to preview the Final Four and to give a little bit of a commentary of the baseball world in the span of the last 5-6 days in between today and obviously at the conclusion of this work week. And I told you guys last week I would sound off on the asinine and just infantile Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James beef, and I will here today. Really not much to talk about outside of college basketball and Major League Baseball, so I figured why not just get it out the way so I don't have to sit on it, and then I'm talking about a beef that's a month and a half old and expired and nobody cares. So let me give you my 2 cents on it. I'll end the show with that and begin with some more important things in terms of the on the field activities around the world of competition. So let us begin a little something different. Let's begin with baseball, since it is opening day, home opener here for the 2025 Baltimore Orioles. Let's start with the Dodgers. Now, I told you guys last week that I anticipated this team was going to shatter the 0-1 Mariners record for the most regular season wins in a single season by an MLB franchise. And based on how they played over the weekend against the Detroit Tigers, I understand it's only 3 games. You don't want to overreact. If it was football, different story. 3 out of 17 team, you're starting to kind of figure out where a team's going to be throughout the course of a year. Baseball, you still got 159, 158, depending on if you had a 4-game weekend series set or not. In the case of my O's, but I tell you, the LA Dodgers are clicking on all cylinders right now. They are 5-0. Started the season 2-0 over in Japan 2 weeks ago when they played the Cubs, and then they come back home to the States in Dodger Stadium, and they get what on paper a feisty Detroit Tigers team with a damn good manager in AJ Hinch, with a strong starting rotation and a lineup not great, obviously pales in comparison to how great and how balanced and how deep of a lineup that the LA Dodgers have, but it's a team that was predicted by many, including yours truly, to make the postseason, predicted by me to win the division and make some noise in the American League. And the Tigers came to Dodger Stadium and just got absolutely dominated. I mean, you take a look at every single game. First off, let's just turn back to Thursday on the Tigers opening day, the Dodgers official home opener, and just take into the fact that they were able to get to Tariq Skubal and were absolutely just to fluster him in his opening day start on Thursday. 5-4 was the final score of that game. 7 hits, 5 runs. They put up 3 in the bottom of the 5th inning. They got to him early with scoring a run there in the 2nd inning. Tommy Edman, obviously, with nobody on, 1 out there in the 2nd inning off of Tariq Skubal. They did a good job working the count. The Dodgers as a team only took the 1 walk, struck out only 6 times, did an excellent job racking up hits with runners in scoring position. They only left 3 guys on base, 1 of 2 with runners in scoring position. Did an excellent job scoring in bulk. Obviously, Blake Snell put together an average start, walked guys, didn't strike out a whole hell of a lot, allowed some traffic there on the base pass, only went 5 innings worth of work. But the Dodger offense is as deadly of an offense you'll see in all of Major League Baseball and did a sensational job. They just tremendous job working accounts and getting to school, which is no easy task. And that just goes to show you how great that Dodger lineup is. They're able to get to Scooble as frequently as they did and allowed themselves to put up some offense early. And then you take a look at Friday, and Friday, my goodness gracious. I mean, how about Mookie Betts? You know, he goes through spring training. He boards the plane when the team gets set to go to Tokyo to start the season a few weeks ago. And it was, you know, he was dealing with a little bit of an illness. He got so sick, the Dodgers sent him back to the States. He was dealing with some just strange, peculiar illness to the point where, you know, he couldn't keep food down. Reported that he lost, 25 pounds. He typically weighs about the $170, in between the $175, $180 range. And there was a point in period of time he was weighing like 157, in between 155 and 160. That's how much weight he had lost because of this sickness. And then, I got a few Dodger fans on my phone who were at the game, and they were saying, how Mookie Betts in his uniform looked like his uniform was about 2 to 3 sizes bigger than what it actually is, because of the fact he's lost so much weight that he doesn't fill out his uniform like he normally does in terms of his body, his musculature and his body shape, because he's lost so much weight because of this illness. And then all of a sudden, for the Dodgers to be able to put up a run in the 8th and 5 runs in the 10th to win in walk-off fashion for the Dodgers, their first walk-off win of the year, and their what at the time was the second walk-off victory of the year. Not that I'm going to spend too much time on it, but by the way, shout out to the Miami Marlins getting a series sweep of the Pittsburgh Pirates to start off the year, with all 3 wins being in walk-off fashion. At that point in time on Friday, the second walk-off victory of the season across Major League Baseball, first one for the Dodgers, with Mookie Betts capping off a 5-run 10th with a 3-run walk-off home run to the left field pavilion. And for the Dodgers to get to the Detroit Tiger bullpen, which last season one of their more stronger units in all of the sport, and to get to a pitching staff. I mean, the strength of the Tigers last year, and then last year heading into this year, we all said and talked about, was their starting rotation being their biggest backbone and being one of their greatest qualities that could keep them in games. And for the Dodgers lineup to get to the Tiger bullpen late and showing a great resolve there in the 10th inning, obviously runner on second base, they would keep in mind they were down in that inning 5-3. They were down 2 runs heading into the bottom of the 10th. And for them to be able to muster up, get 2 runs home, and then Mookie Betts to deliver the 3-run homer to win the game there, that's great mental toughness from a stacked, talented, and mentally tough baseball team. They did a sensational job. They went 3 of 6, hit 500 with runners of scoring position. They had 8 hits, 8 runs, only left 3 guys on base. You'll sign up for that every single day and twice on Sunday. Freddie Freeman got his first homer of the season off of Jack Flaherty there in the 6th inning. Did a sensational job. Mookie Betts absolutely took the game over, went 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs and had the home run, obviously, to win the game there late. I understand the Detroit Tigers, not the Yankees, the defending American League champions. They aren't the Rangers, not the Boston Red Sox, but that's a formidable, impressive, opponent. And they, a team that had a great season, had a sensational second half to the year, had their season end in painful fashion to the division rival Guardians in the ALDS last year. And, the expectation is winning the division, having a strong playoff run, ALCS in perfect world, maybe a World Series appearance, World Series run out of these gritty Tigres. And then for them to absolutely get put in there. That's what happened. They got put in their place by the Dodgers. Strong offense, getting to that bullpen. They knocked the ace Scooble around. I mean, the Dodgers put the Detroit Tigers in their place. That's all there is to it. We thought the Detroit Tigers, good team, has the potential to be a great team through the first opening weekend. We discovered there's levels to this. The Dodgers are here, and the Detroit Tigers are down there. There is a mighty gap in between these two teams. Both the two good teams that can win over 90 games, obviously, going to make the postseason, and not in my humble estimation. And the Tigers, I believe, and I still hold firm to this prediction, I think they're going to win the Central. So I think you got two teams that's going to win over 90 games in my eyes, two teams that's going to win a division, but still, even with that, there's levels to how great the Dodgers are compared to how good the Detroit Tigers are. And, their offense really wasn't that productive throughout the course of the series. Their pitching staff really let them down. The bullpen on Friday night, certainly, they had a 2-run lead and they couldn't get the job done against the top, and then eventually the heart of the LA Dodgers is order. Their offense let them down. I mean, they scored 3 runs on Saturday. I mean, you chalk up this series loss and this sweep really to their pitching staff just getting outclassed. I mean, 5 runs, 8 runs, 7 runs. 5, 8, 7, 15 plus the 5. They surrendered 20 runs in their first 3 games of the season. 20 in 3 games. I don't care how great your starting staff. Is. You can't win long term getting outscored essentially 20 to 8 plus 5 is 9 plus 4. 9 and 4, that's 13. I mean, they got to score 20 to 13 in this series. So and they have to understand they're not going to be able to win every game by the final score of 3-2, 2-1. So I think it puts a little extra pressure on the Tigers offense to bail out their starting rotation when they run into a team such as the Dodgers that has a deep lineup that can score runs. They can put up 5, 6, 7, 8 runs without breaking a sweat. So it's going to put added pressure on that offense as the season moves along for them to compensate for the days in which their staff, they're given starting pitcher on a 5th day, and their bullpen when they just don't have it. But that was a statement series in terms of the fact of us learning as a baseball community that not that we didn't already have an idea of this, but for us to see it in the flesh. The Detroit Tigers, even if hypothetically they were to make it to the World Series and go up against LA, they wouldn't stand a chance. They wouldn't stand. Our offense is not nearly as dynamic, and they say good pitching stops good hitting. Maybe not in the case of the LA Dodgers, and certainly not in the case of the Detroit Tigers pitching staff. That's opening weekend reaction number 1. Number 2, the Padres did a good job taking care of business against the Atlanta Braves, who have yet to win a game to start the 2025 campaign. They got doubled to death last night on Sunday Night Baseball, getting swept, losing by the final score of 5-0, only mustered 1 lousy hit. The Braves have not been able to hit well through their first 3 games of the season, and it gets no easier. They get the Padres to start the year, and then they get the Dodgers for 3 at Dodger Stadium in the early parts of this work week before they head home and take on the Miami Marlins for their opening homestand of the 2025 season. But they have not been able to hit. Got shut out last night, got shut out on Saturday, lost that game by the final score of 1-0. They lost 4-3 on Friday, 7-4 on opening day. I don't want to overreact. Obviously, after the first 4 games of the year, I think it's foolish and stupid to engage in such behavior. But if you're an Atlanta Braves fan, knowing and having the sour taste of how last season went and how last season ended in your mouth, and for you to start the season against a baseball team that, good team, they're going to win in between about 80 to 90, 88 to 93 games, they being the San Diego Padres in my humble estimation. But for a team that went through an offseason where it's kind of, trade rumors swirling around Dylan Cease having to cut some more payroll because of the RSN thing. And Obviously, with there being a fight in ownership with the original owner dying within the span of the last 18 to 24 months between, the widow and his immediate nuclear family over team control. And you're the Atlanta Braves. You have to play the Dodgers. You don't have to play the Dodgers 13 times in the season. The Padres do. And you're saying to yourself, okay, granted, we lost Max Fried, we lost Charlie Morton to free agency, to the respectfully to the Yankees and the Orioles alike. We got to be sure we get Ronald Acuna Jr. back. We got to be able to get the season off on the right foot, especially with everybody coming back healthy and rejuvenated from last season. And also, let's not forget, who knocked out the Atlanta Braves in the postseason last year in the wild card round? The San Diego Padres. So you even had an added incentive of starting your season against the team that knocked you out the last time you played a game of consequence in that ballpark last October. And they just, especially on Saturday and Sunday, were just a complete no-show. Uncompetitive at bats. Just no traffic on the bases whatsoever, and every single time the Padres had a runner in scoring position, they were able to capitalize. So the through the first 4 games, I think it's safe to say that the Braves have a little bit of soul searching to do through the first 4, because they could, not to say again, season is not over if they get swept by the Dodgers, but it would be the early signs of quote unquote hitting a panic button, if you will, if they head down south to Chavez Ravine and get their teeth kicked in by the LA Dodgers. They got to be able to show some fight and to show some life and at least get a split 2 out of 3, because you can't come home 3,000 miles east approximately by having your teeth get kicked in by 2 out of the best teams in baseball that's west of the Mississippi. You just can't have that. So you got to be able to see, better at bats, and I listen, I understand it's early. I get it. And no one is expecting the Braves, to win north of 95 games this year. I'm not one of those people, but you got to give me better. They just had no heart, no grit, no life whatsoever. Their last 2 games, especially against the San Diego Padres. So I got to see better from them going forward in 2025 here. They got Holmes on the mound tonight going up against Tyler Glasnow, first of 3 against the Dodgers in Chavez Ravine coming up later on this week. So the Braves were feeble. The Tigers got put in their place by the LA Dodgers. And then third, Rafi Devers has got to snap out of it. If you're Rafael Devers and you wanted to carry on and bitch and moan and scream and create an unnecessary added firestorm that didn't have to be within your locker room, digging your heels in, basically saying, how dare Alex Bregman knocked me off my spot at third base. I am the team's, starting third baseman by hook or by crook, and anyone that shall dare knock me off my pedestal, is going to have a problem, and we're going to have, a discrepancy, in the words of Bernie Mac. Come on. If you're going to do that and carry on the way that he did in the early parts of this month during spring training, you got to be able to produce. It's just all there is to it. If you're going to kick and scream, bitch and moan, how dare they move me off of third base, you got to be able to produce. And for Rafi Devers to put up such disgusting numbers to begin the season, if that isn't a wake-up call for him, I don't know what is, because the fact of the matter of it is, this guy, through his, let me sit here and pull it up for Rafael Devers right quickly, because his numbers to start the season have been absolutely atrocious. Now, watch me say this, and then he goes, 12 for 15 with 3 home runs against the Orioles coming up, because the Red Sox are here in the 4-1-0 at the early parts of this week, and then they head back home north to Fenway for their home opening series coming up this weekend. But 0 for 16, 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, and 1 RBI. That's Chris Davis territory. That's so disgusting and just that's so unimaginably unacceptable. So if you're going to kick and scream, how dare they move me off of third base and be a pain in the ass to a new teammate there that was brought in by the front office. And it's the same Rafael Devers, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, that bitched and moaned in front of his locker around this time last year, or how, John Henry and the front office of the Boston Red Sox, they don't do anything to spend any money. They didn't have a big time offseason and basically put their best foot forward to improve the baseball team. I believe it's the same Rafi Devers that was very vocal and very adamant. How dare the Red Sox not go out there in free agency and improve the roster? So they go out there last minute, but listen, better late than never. They go out there, they bring in an all-star third baseman, World Series champion extraordinaire, can hit for average, can hit for power, can do this, can do that. Is a strong defense, not Brooks Robinson, but is a strong defensive third baseman, because they see the deficiencies that Rafael Devers, as great of a hitter as he is from a left-handed batter's box, he's not exactly, he's not a great shut him down human vacuum cleaner at the odd corners damn self. He does have a nice tendency to commit his fair share of errors there at third base. So the team says, okay, well, we got to fix this in order for us to compete, with and leapfrog the Yankees and the Orioles within our division before we can handle the bigger fish we got to fry. We got to make sure we master and take care of the small potatoes that's right in front of us. So they go out there, they bring in Alex Bregman, who's a better third baseman than Rafael Devers is. Devers is a better hitter than he is a better fielder. It's just, and if he's got a problem with it, or at the time had a big issue with it, tough. They brought Bregman in for a reason, and they did not, and the Red Sox wouldn't have brought him in if they didn't, especially last minute in spring training, if they didn't feel like if they felt like he did not have anything worth of value to add to this team winning baseball games. So you can't have it both ways. And if he's going to kick, bitch, and scream, you better be sure to follow it up with premier results against the Texas Rangers, a team 2 years removed from winning a World Series title. And 0 of 16 with 12 Ks is not going to be good enough. All that bitching and moaning about how dare they move me off of third base. I'm a third baseman, not a DH, blah, blah, blah. Put up or shut up. As much is given, much is required. You can't sit up here and moan and groan and complain, and then when a light shines bright and it's go time, starting the new season, and you're an automatic out. Again, not overreacting, not up here saying that he's going to have a bad season. The season's lost, obviously. I'm not engaging, again, in overreaction and in tomfoolery in this soliloquy. But what I am saying is, it's about time that Rafael Devers. Now, I would like to see this bad stretch go into these 3 games because they're playing my Orioles this week. But objectively speaking, once this series against the Orioles is over with, he needs to start producing. You can't be the team headache and be the quote-unquote face of the franchise, bitch and moan when they bring in some help, and then play like stir-fry once the games get going, especially this year when there has been so much hype and expectation surrounding him and his Boston Red Sox this year in 2025. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. Because if he has a down year this year and the Red Sox, go 85-77 and miss the playoffs, he's going to walk away with enormous egg on his face. And he'll have nobody to blame but himself. Not Alex Bregman, not his manager, not the front office. Be on the head and shoulders and on the plate of Rafi Devers. Plain and simple, point blank, period, no questions asked. So his disgusting start to the 2025 campaign, I took note in. As the Texas Rangers, I apologize, get off to a strong start here to begin the new season. 3-1 record, winning their first series of the season against the Boston Red Sox, winning the last 3 after dropping the season opener on Thursday. So, and DeGrom pitched well too, which you like to see. And if the Rangers can get a healthy Jacob DeGrom, that's going to deliver, because let us not forget, and the hype of Scooble and Paul Skeens, and obviously throwing in there the old guard and Garrett Cole. Let us not forget, when Jacob deGrom is on his game, automatic top 5, top 3 best starting pitcher, one of the best starting pitchers in all of Major League Baseball, and that's been the case throughout his entire MLB career for quite some time. So let's not, fall victim to recency bias, and let us not forget, when Jacob deGrom is healthy, and that's the key, if when he's healthy, he's just one of the more dominant starting pitchers in the game we got going. And if the Rangers can get him healthy with nil an IL stint, they're going to be in good shape going forward this season. But they got to keep him healthy and put together productive starts like we saw from him this weekend. So that is item number 3. And then lastly, item number 4. My 2025 Baltimore Orioles. I'm not going to overreact. I'm not going to get angry. I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to get loud, but I'm not going to get angry. My 2025 Baltimore Orioles. 2-2 through the game's first 4 games. So they've been inconsistent to start. Inconsistent, to say the least. They go out there, set the world on fire on Thursday. They score 12 runs, 6 home runs on opening day, franchise record. Adley hits 2. Cedric Mullins hits 2. Westberg goes deep. Solid day at the office. And then Friday night, they absolutely shit the bed, and we go right back to the garbage that had me frustrated, pissed off, annoyed, emotions running awry, and my blood pressure through the roof, which led to their predictable early October exit in 2024, because the starting pitching left a lot to be desired. Charlie Morton. And I had this opinion at the time, you go out there, no disrespect, I understand 2-time World Series champion, but a 40-year-old pitcher that had an ERA well over 4 for not a very good, in comparison to previous years, Atlanta Braves team last year, and you bring him in to be kind of, the veteran reinforcement, or the veteran replacement, I should say, for losing Corbin Burns, and you deserve what you get. Charlie Morton was, and it was eventually that it was only going to be a matter of time on Friday night until the dam broke. He got into various trouble in the first 3 frames, was able and was fortunate enough and skilled enough, which I guess you can account to him being the accomplished veteran that he is. You know how to work and dance yourself out of danger when you've been in the league as long as Charlie Morton has. But at the end of the day, when you're not when you're getting knocked around and the Blue Jays are having at-bats and collecting up hits in which hard contact is being made all over the ballpark, eventually when you have runners, on the corners, second and third, first and second, less than 2 out, eventually the dam's going to break. Early in the season, nobody knows what the identity of either or any team is at this certain point. So obviously you're going to be more susceptible to begin, to get knocked around, because everybody's fresh, especially in the aftermath where the day before the Blue Jays were just completely uncompetitive at the plate. They lost by 10 runs, second game of the season. They want to get the bad taste out of opening day out of their mouth, and thus, as a result, they went off. 7 hits, 4 runs, and just got knocked around all over the ballpark, which was very predictable. And as was the fact that the Orioles defense, yet again, when it rains, it pours, adding 5 gallons of kerosene onto the ever-growing brush fryer. The Orioles defense out the lunch. I got Jackson Holliday with his feet stuck in the mud and his head in quicksand because he fails to cover second base on a routine 6-4-3 double play that should have gotten the Orioles out of danger. He just stands there. Nobody covers second base, continues the inning. all of a sudden the floodgates open and the Blue Jays offense strikes the end of the rainbow and puts together a solid offensive inning from there on out. So you have that, and then Jorge Mateo throwing the ball all over the damn field, and it's sloppiness, man. I mean, 2 errors. It's just we cannot have the errors anymore. We had the errors in 2024. They went uncorrected, game in and game out. It's the second game of the season. Second game of the season. I can't have errors. I can't have it on the routine, simple, elementary shit. I cannot have the errors. I can't. I have zero tolerance for it. None. Especially the second game of the season. They were just in Sarasota in spring training 5 days prior. I have zero tolerance, zero acceptance, zero understanding for errors. The basic, simple-ass shit that little leaguers can accomplish, that little leaguers, 12U travel ball guys can execute. I can find guys from Owings Mills High School that can throw their damn ball all over the field, that can have their head up their ass on a routine ground ball hit to the left side of the infield. That is supposed to be a routine 6-4-3 double play. No patience for it. Won't have patience for it. Especially first series, second game of the year. You just came out of spring training. What the fuck did you do for 2.5 months? Knowing good and full well that's your piss poor divas. One of the reasons why you didn't go far in October last year. Why you collapsed in the second half of the season. Why the Yankees edged you out for the division title. And the second game of the season, get this crap. Charlie Morton, I don't like it. I can understand. Predictable. That doesn't mean I am going to accept it or going to, take it as a positive, thing to look back on. But bad pitcher, 40 years old, gets knocked down. Okay, fine. Blue Jays are professionals too. Second game of the season. They had to show, something especially when a lot of these guys from the manager to every single one that makes up the 25-26, their ass is on the line this year. It's either get going, make some noise, make a postseason, and win a playoff series, or get the hell out. So it's do or die time up in the 6th for the Toronto Blue Jays. So I expected no condemnation in terms of, how dare, but I get it. And again, when you sign a 40-year-old starting pitcher that's been on his fair share amount of teams, you deserve what you get at this point. When you go dumpster diving at the retirement home, my anger with that is more so pointed towards front office than anything that Charlie Morton or Brandon Hyde did throughout the span of Friday's game. But what I have zero tolerance and zero patience for is when you shoot yourself in your foot. You get outclassed. It's just a night where you just get beat. Fine, it happens. And it's Major League Baseball, second game of the season. I get it. I get it. This early in the season, flip a coin. Hell, any team can win when you get this point in the season because they're still getting their legs underneath them for the year. What I have zero tolerance for coming out of spring training early in the season is self-inflicted mistakes, such as fielding errors, not covering the appropriate base on a given base hit or a given ground ball, batted ball put in play. I got no tolerance for that. I don't give a damn if you're 20, 21 years old and this is your second year in the big leagues, or if you're 37 years old or 35 years old and it's your 12th, 13th, 14th year in the big leagues. I got no tolerance for it for a team that sees themselves as a competitive baseball team that sees themselves winning over 90 games, that has the goal to win the division, that has the goal to make the playoffs, that has the goal to make a deep playoff run, and that's the goal, I hope, to win the World Series. I got no tolerance for it. Never have, never will. So when I see Mateo throwing the ball all over the place like I saw again on Sunday, it's a routine ground ball and he's short hopping it left and right to Ryan Mountcastle. I mean, my God. Gunnar Henderson, to you, please, I beg, heal up as quick and as fast as you can, my brother, and get your country ass to the 410 ASAP to take the reins back at shortstop, because I cannot for another 162 or a 150 whatever or a 140 or a 130 or a 120 whatever continue to watch Jorge Mateo play for my team in my uniform. I can't do it anymore. I understand the guy is fast as hell and he's electrifying on the base pass, but unless he is in a 1-0 or a 1-1 or a 2-2 game past the seventh inning strictly as a pinch runner for, say, Ramon Urias, who runs like he's got a damn piano attached to his back, unless it is that specific situation in a game in which Jorge Mateo's on the field, I don't want him anywhere. I don't want him sniffing the infield dirt this year. I don't want him up to bat with a bat in his hand. I would, putting together uncompetitive feeble at bats one after the next, and I damn Skippy don't want him in the field with the glove. I don't want it. I don't need it. I didn't ask for it. Please, I can't do it. I'd rather have 60-something-year-old Cal Ripken Jr. at shortstop at this point, defensively, than Jorge Mateo. I can't do it. Short hopping balls on routine grounders to first. I mean, again, to use the Bill Belichick line, I can find guys at fucking Owens Mills High School, at Archbishop Curley High School that can make that play. And routine ground balls. Just get the ball, take your time, shuffle, and make the throw. Instead, he wants to be Mr. Acrobatic thinking he's Derek Jeter, and he fucking short hops it to Ryan Mountcastle. He can't get a grip on the ball. Find guys at Archbishop Curley that can make that play. And this guy can't. 2025. Why in the hell is he still on this roster? Gunnar Henderson's injury aside, why is he still on this baseball team? Why? Because he's fast? So what? Pick a different, become an Olympian, become a sprinter for the 2020, what is it going to be? The 2028 Olympics. Become a sprinter. Do something. If you want to play baseball, can't be for my team. Not much longer if you're going to sit there and play like this. Can't. And with all the guys that got with healthy, once everybody gets healthy, but I can't take it anymore. I want Westberg at third, Gunnar at short, Jackson at second. Nobody else. I don't want to see no Soto, Gregory Soto. I don't want to see Jorge Mateo. I don't want to see Ramon Urias. When everybody gets healthy and this team gets their sea legs underneath them, it's enough. It's enough. Get the bums that have some redeeming qualities about them. Bench players. The ones that have run their course, get them the fuck off my team. It's enough. It's enough. I can't take it. I can't watch it anymore. Losing games because starting pitcher's not that great and you got injured, that's one thing. I hate it, but that's one thing. What I can't accept is self-inflicted ineptitude. I can't take it, especially when literally the self-inflicted ineptitude is the exact same reason why this team did jack shit in the postseason last year. Insanity is doing the same damn thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And the bats cannot fall into the trap of being boom or bust again. It can't. They were boom or bust on Friday. They were boom or bust yesterday. They can't hit home runs in bulk. They don't score. That cannot be the MO of this baseball team. And they expect themselves to win big. It just cannot happen. I like home runs as much along with the best of them, but unless they're three-run jacks or grand slams, give me the singles, give me the boring singles, and give me the doubles. Give me the doubles in the alley, down the line, and give me the boring singles. Unless they're 3-run homers or grand slams, I don't need them. I'm at the point where I approach the home run at this point. Unless they're 3-run homers or grand slams, I don't want them. Give me the doubles, give me the singles. Because the all or nothing approach is going to bite this team square in the ass yet again if they don't get themselves together. Because I can't take getting runners first and third, second and first with 2 out, 1 out. Prime opportunities for them to score, get the lead back, extend on their lead, tie the game, whatever the case might be, and they go empty, which is essentially what now. Friday, you want to give them a little bit of a break because they barely had anybody on base. Okay, fine. But yesterday, 0 of 7 with runs to scoring position, leaving 9 guys on base when they racked up 9 hits collectively as a baseball team is completely and utterly unacceptable. Again, same slop, same garbage, same nonsense that got this team a quick one-way ticket to Cancun last year. And I'd be damned if I'm going to sit up here and watch them pull the same shit and accept it again in 2025. It's the same foolishness, same crap they did last season, and they paid for it dearly. Unless they like getting an extra month of their off season, I suggest they stop it now. 4 games in, because if they think anything else, they're sadly mistaken. Well, we're going to try the same approach last year and apply it this year, and hopefully we'll get lucky. No, it's not how it works. Eventually, you got to make some adjustments. Is hitting 6 homers in a 9-inning game nice? Yeah, but more times than not, that's not a sustainable formula for scoring runs and winning baseball games. You'll take it. You'll say thank you. You won't give it back if it happens, but you're not going to win games every single night hitting 6 homers. Yankees, which I'll get to later on, that's not a sustained method for them scoring runs and winning games on a game-in, game-out basis. They're probably not even going to come close to sniffing 9 homers in a game again. Not going to come close. So you got to be able to be more resourceful and not being so stubborn and hell-bent on your offensive game plan, especially in the sequence of a 162. Can't. No excuse. Yeah, you one like you couldn't get hits. One like you couldn't get hits. Now you struck out 11 times to only 2 walks, which I don't like, but you racked up 9 hits and you had 1 run to show for it. You didn't get a single hit or have a single at-bat in which the batter up at the plate drove in that 1 run. They scored the 1 run on a wild pitch. That was it. No sac flies, no sacrifice groundouts, no sacrifice bunts, on top of no hits with runs to scoring position. That resulted in runs. Can't happen. So through the first 4 games, I don't know what to make of this team. Now, again, chapter is yet to be written. Largely, this is still a very, very, very young season. But if the first 4 games are a sign of what's to come, I mean, literally, this team has 85 and 77 written all over it. If the first 4 games are an indication of how this season's going to go, don't get all enthused and overly excited if you're one that roots for the orange and black. It's just, again, do they got plenty of time to fix some things, change some things? Still got 97, 98% of the season still left. Gunnar Henderson hadn't even played a game yet, so I get it, but I'm kind of ho hum on what I've seen from them the first 4 days of the year. Ho hum. If Eflin is going to take charge as being the ace, I think that's a tremendous positive you can take. I think Brian Baker looked good yesterday. Looked very good yesterday. I understand Cino Perez prior to yesterday hadn't given up a homer in like 2 years, but I'm a little skeptical with how his 2025 is going to go. Yennier Cano and Felix Bautista, I feel like are going to be, return not exactly to their peak 2023 dominance, but they're going to be, they're going to be damn near close to it. I think Yennier Cano, he's going to be damn good this year because having the confidence level of having Bautista behind you rather than Craig Kimbrell, I think is going to do wonders for him this year. And then Bautista, gave up the hard hit to Bo Bichette, who just had a magnificent game on Saturday afternoon. But outside of that double that he hit there in the ninth inning, it was old Felix Bautista. Fastball strong. He ain't going to hit 99, 101 quite yet. And I think that also could be a good thing for him in disguise, a blessing in disguise for him, because it's going to force him to be better at his secondary pitches. His splitter, which he got all three of his strikeouts on, the strikeout pitch with that splitter down low in the dirt that, has that just sinks down and dips at the last minute that confuses the hell out of hitters. So you got the splitter. And also, you heard rumblings in spring training. He's working on his cutter. So I think it could be early on to start the year. A blessing in disguise is going to make Felix get better at his secondary pitches, which could work out better for him and the team in the long run. But, just the fielding errors and the boom or bust approach at the plate. I can't sit through another season of it again. I can't. You get beat because the team's better than you on a given day. That's one thing. You give them help by being unclutched, batting your hand with runners on, and just aloof in the field when the ball's put in play. You can't. We literally saw the New York Yankees lose a World Series because of this. Do the Orioles think that it's not going to that if they're put in a similar situation in the postseason, it's not going to happen to them too, just because they don't wear the Yankee pinstripes? I don't understand. Poor fundamentals leads to losses. I don't care what uniform you wear, what team you play for. You display piss poor fundamentals, you're not going to win a lot of games in any sport. Baseball, basketball, football, doesn't matter. Poor fundamentals leads to losses. Period. At any level. Doesn't matter if you're a multimillionaire, Major League Baseball players, or if you're, playing for nothing at the Little League level. You beat yourself, you're not going to win. And for some the first series of the season, I already got to sit up here and take this fool to task. Why in the hell Jordan Westburg was not in the lineup yesterday and let me read you his numbers, okay? And again, I understand Gunnar Henderson is injured, but it's still no excuse. Jordan Westburg, his first 3 games, he's played 3 games, start the year, 13 at-bats. 462, 3 homers, 3 RBIs, OPS of 1.654. That's how well he's played his first 3 games of the year. And this is coming off of a damn good 2024, by the way. And by the way, a 2024 in which he broke his wrist in July and the lineup was never the same once he went out. And he wasn't his explosive offensive self at the plate when he returned from his broken wrist. 462, 3 homers, 3 RBIs his first 3 games of the season, and a grand total of 13 at-bats. Jorge Mateo, batting average of a big-ass goose egg. Look, I got it right in front of me. Look at that. Goose egg, I don't know if it'll focus, but you can tell by the shape of the zeros. I don't know if it'll focus or not, but I don't know if you can see it that well, but if you can't see it, it just says 5 and a line of zeros. 5 and a line of zeros versus 462, 3 homers, 3 RBIs. You got to be kidding. The 4th game of the season and Jordan Westburg is getting an off day. It's just like one of those situations where you get so frustrated and you get so drained and you get so pissed off at Brandon Hyde because it's like, are you trying to piss us off, or are you just that painfully incompetent? Are you trying to lose games, or are you or do you want to win, or are you content with losing? Because it's just like, it's the fourth game of the season. Why not take the first series of the year so you come back home for your home opener, and your home opening series against a division rival that everybody and their mother, including yours truly, thinks is better than you, is going to win a division? Why not go into that game, go into that series, and come home with some momentum? It's just, why open up your home schedule with a loss and with a 2-2 record when you could be 4-1? Or 3-1, excuse me. It's just just unnecessary stupid shit like that he just like either overlooks, doesn't think about, doesn't think is that important. It's just I'm at a loss for words. His fascination with Jorge Mateo, still in the year of our Lord 2025, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. His fascination with Jorge Mateo. And again, don't give me no Gunnar Henderson injury excuse as an acceptable alibi, because Westbrook played the previous 3 games, didn't he? And with Gunnar out, here's how you do it. You have Westberg at you have Arias at third base. You have Westberg at second, or Westberg at short, and Jackson Holiday at second. So I don't want to hear any excuse with Gunnar. And it's the 4th game of the season. To my knowledge, he went through spring training, went through an entire training camp, healthy, with no setbacks, no nothing. And you would think a guy, one of their better, more all-around hitters on the roster, that had a bite of their season cut off because of a broken wrist injury that came by accident by virtue of hit by pitch I believe that game was on July 31st, if I'm not mistaken, right before the deadline, or on deadline day, actually. You would think and you would figure that it'd be important to get him as many at-bats as possible, if nothing else, just for the morale of your lineup 1 through 9, or 1 through 8, excluding him, obviously. You would think that. And then and he benches him on the 4th day. And I don't want to hear none of this nonsense, he haven't had an off day yet. You played in a dome. You play in a dome, and it's the 4th game of the season. Spare me. And you get an off day on Tuesday. It's just, what the fuck? Just start Jordan Westberg, so we're not going through these goofy ass machinations. It's just like, why? And I'm sitting there, I'm watching the game, and I'm seeing Jorge Mateo put together one agonizing, uncompetitive at bat, and one after the next. And it's like, and I'm saying to myself, well, shit, if Westberg was in the game, he'd drive that ball for a base hit, he'd drive that ball for a base hit, or he'd take that pitch instead of swinging out of his shoes or staring at it right down on it. It's just like, I don't understand. Like, it's like Brandon Hyde is hell bent on making his job and making life on the team harder than what it needs to be. 4th game of the season, and Brandon Hyde's already up to his old tricks and old song and dance. It's just, again, this team has to win in spite of him, not because of him. What a stupid manager. No disrespect intended, but it's just like, when he makes decisions like that, and then people out there, whether they be Dog or anybody else, it's like that, and then they sit up here and they expect people like me not to get upset, not to get pissed off when I see dumb shit like this. It's the 4th fucking game of the season, not the 44th, not the 84th or the 104th or the 94th. It's the 4th game of the season. You have an opportunity to get a series win against, albeit nobody thinks it's going to be that good. It's still a division rival that winning games against your division rival, I don't care if it's in March or if it's in September, you take it and you sign up for it every single day of the week and twice on Sunday. Why not just get the series win when it's right there on a silver platter right in front of you? And that was a winnable game that the Orioles had. Friday, okay, fine, just wasn't your day. Sunday, they could have and should have won. Could have and should have won. It was a 1-run game up until about the bottom of the the 8th inning, bottom of the 7th when he hit the home run. It was a 1-run game up until the bottom of the 7th inning with the home run off of Perez. I just I don't. This team just it's like they invent new ways and they get like a sick thrill out of pissing me off. I don't get it. I really, 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 really don't get it. I don't get how this team just makes life so much harder on themselves. And then speaking of which, of making life hard on themselves, and I get it, and I appreciate the heart. I appreciate the grit and the hustle and just the blue collar way, quote unquote, he plays the game. I really do. But if you're uh, Colton Cowser, is it really necessary the fourth game of the season? There's playing with an edge and playing with competitive spirit, and then there's that line that's there in the sand that when you cross it, you go from being balls to the wall gamer to being a reckless moron. And yesterday, Colton Cowser crossed that line into being a reckless moron because you know that your team already has dealt with injury within your lineup with Gunnar Henderson. But fourth game of the season, we gotta be sliding head first into first base. He's got a fracture in his thumb, and he was put on a 10-day IL earlier this morning. It's like he can't get a break. You can't get a break. You can't catch a break. Fourth game of the season, and give Ben McDonald credit because in his cordial and polite fashion, he basically called out Colton Cowser for just being reckless. Because when it happened, because it went to video review, because it was bang bang, whether or not he made it into first base safely before the pitcher's foot came down with the ball in his mitt. So, and he said it about he was adamant about it, and give him credit for doing it, and give him credit for saying so. You just don't do that. You just unless it's an elimination game in the postseason and or Game 7 of the World Series, you never ever 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 slide head first into first base on a ground ball like that. You just because the end does not justify the means in that situation. You don't get the scientific studies has shown it doesn't increase your speed going down the line. You don't get to first base faster, and then none of that. All it's nothing, just a big ass myth. Just a big ass myth. It does not increase your likelihood of being safe at first base on a bang bang play, sliding head first and just running in a simple stride the 90 feet. And you take more of a risk doing it than just running down the line full 90. And he slides his first into first base and he fractures his thumb. And he had to get pinch hit for in the top of the 9th inning by Gary Sanchez. This team already has an uphill battle to climb for reasons in and out of their control. And then it's just like they take their hard road and they got to take the difficulty and crank it up 3 notches. Whether it's Brandon Hyde being dumb and resting Jordan Westbrook for some asinine, inane reason out of the clear blue sky, the 4th game of the season, for a feeble errors machine and Jorge Matei out, who's an automatic out, or it's Colton Cowser diving head first in the first base 4th game of the season when the game wasn't on the line, and he ends up breaking his thumb. You just can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Can't. And Cowser's the same guy, by the way, that broke his hand in a wild card game against Kansas City. You remember that in the playoff game against Kansas City in October? Same guy that broke his hand because he swung at a pitch up and in that would have been a hit by pitch, would have gotten another run on base for the Orioles, trying to put a halfway decent rally together. He swung and the ball hit him in his hand, and he ended up breaking his hand, and it was 2 strikes, and he swung and he struck out. I believe they had the bases loaded, so if he would have let the ball just hit him and not have swung, the Orioles would have scored a run, and who knows how the rest of that game. I believe that was game 2, if I'm not mistaken, in which that happened. So between swinging at with 2 strikes, the bases loaded, swinging at a pitch that was up near your hands and which hit your hands and killed a rally, between that and now I'm reading reports that Brandon Hyde told the media today that Cowser could be out 6 to 8 weeks. Let me just play. Should I play taps now? Should I play taps and salute him good night now? 6 to 8 weeks for a broken thumb because he was dumb enough to slide into first base the 4th game of the season. It's getting dumb. Dumb baseball players. I will play the Bill Parcells quote if you want me to. Dumb players do dumb things. Next time Colton Cowser wants to swing at a pitch at his hands or dive into first base or do something else halfway brain dead on a bit, next time he steps on a baseball field come my parents' anniversary at this rate, get Brandon Hyde, if he's smart enough to find it on YouTube, get him to play this quote from legendary NFL head coach Bill Parcells. Dumb players do dumb things. Dumb players do dumb things. And dumb players who do dumb things don't win jack shit. Don't believe me? Go ask last year's Yankees crew. Again, not personal. Appreciate the heart, appreciate the grit, but you gotta be smarter. No tolerance for stupidity and self-inflicted ineptitude. Again, and that's the theme of my Orioles monologue. I got no tolerance for it. None whatsoever. If you're a Yankee fan and want to throw a parade because you sweep the hapless Milwaukee Brewers, who won't be much of anything this year, then, go ahead. You're hitting 9 homers in a game. Whoop-de-damn-do. Really, the only sign of quote-unquote trouble the Yankees faced them outside of, and by the way, if I was a Yankee fan, I'd be more alarmed and more scared shitless of the fact that your team committed 5 errors in a game, shades of the 5th inning of Game 5 last night. I'd take more stock in that and being more concerned about that if I'm a New York Yankee fan from the game on Saturday than I would about, oh, look at us, we had 9 homers in a game. I'll tell you this right now, and I'm not a numbers guy by any stretch of the imagination like that, but I guarantee you the chances of the Yankees committing 5 errors in a game again is more likely than them hitting 9 homers in a game again. So if I'm a Yankee fan, you have to be able to fix defense, because Parcells, dumb players who dumb things, it's not just exclusive to the Baltimore Orioles. It also applies to the New York Yankees as well, or it's one of the main reasons why the New York Yankees didn't beat the LA Dodgers in the World Series last year. It's just you get all 3 phases. Football, same applies in baseball. Pitching, hitting, defense / fielding. All 3 phases. You got to be, you can't pick and choose 2 out of the 3, 1 out of 3. All 3 phases. You got to be a fundamentally sound baseball team. And if the Yankees, pull that bull jive out of their hat against another team later on this season, not going to be as fortunate. The They've got the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium later on this year. That's not going to fly. They have yet to play they play the Orioles at the end of this month. That's not going to fly. They go up against Boston. That's not going to fly. They play Texas. That's not going to fly. They got Arizona this week. It's not going to fly. Arizona's a damn good baseball team that could, knock off the Dodgers in a hypothetical playoff series. And you don't know. So you got to be able to do the little things right. You got to be able to do the little things right. Now, it's hitting 9 homers in a game and offense, exploding, scoring 20 runs on Saturday and scoring 12. Yeah, I mean, the Yankees scored a combined 32 runs in 2 games. 32 runs in 2 games. Now, is that sustainable throughout the 162? Hell no. And if you're somehow a delusional Yankee fan that thinks that it is, you need to get your brain donated to your local hospital when you die, if you believe that. But you got to be able to sustain it. Now, we'll see what the Yankees are really made of. The Yankees beating the piss out of the Milwaukee Brewers in their own home ballpark to wash the taste of Game 5 out of their mouth does not say or prove anything to me. The Yankees can hit against bad teams, and Aaron Judge in the early parts of the season is a demigod with a baseball bat in his hands. Nobody cares about what Aaron Judge does in March, April, May. And don't sit and give me this nonsense. Well, historically, he struggles early on in the season. I don't give a fuck. After that disgusting, putrid performance he put together in the World Series against the Dodgers last season, on the backs of an underwhelming postseason against the Royals and the Guardians alike, in a series in which Soto and Stanton had to carry his ass, mixed in a little bit with Jazz Chisholm, I don't want to hear it. Okay, same thing, and same applies. And I'm consistent when it comes to how I assess Lamar Jackson and how he plays. Nobody cares that he throws 5 touchdown passes and goes for 420 in a week 3 game or a week 2 game against the Miami Marlins or the Vegas Raiders in September. I'm not interested. What I care about is how he does and how he performs in December, and more specifically in January, when his legacy is there to be written and championship games are there to be made, and games are there to be won with legacies and with games and with seasons on the line. That's when I care about how well you play and how impressive your stat sheet looks. That's when I care. Lamar Jackson in January, Judge in October in the postseason. Not in March against the Milwaukee Brewers, not in July against the Colorado Rockies. Lamar not in September against the Dolphins or against the Cleveland Browns, or in October against the Bengals, or in October against the New England Patriots. I'm not interested. What do you do when the lights shine the brightest in the playoffs? Lamar in January, parallel to Judge in October. Nobody cares about the MVPs. Nobody cares about him hitting 50, 60-something home runs in a season, him breaking Roger Maris's single-season American League home run. I'm not interested. I could care freaking less. And to be honest, Yankee fans that hold him to a standard should care less too. I don't give a fuck. He could hit 80 home runs steroid-free. If I'm a Yankee fan worth my salt, it means nothing. He's going to disappear every single October. It means nothing. And why should it mean anything otherwise? So you can have and throw your parade. You beat up on the Brewers. Nobody gives a damn. Let me see how the Yankees play against formidable opponents coming up this week, against Arizona at home this week, when they go to Detroit next week, when they host Kansas City in 2 weeks' time at the stadium, when they go to Cleveland, when they go to Baltimore at the end of this month, in May, when they host the Padres, when they go up against Seattle and that vaunted starting rotation the week after Mother's Day in early May. Let me see how the Yankees play then. When they host Texas, when they host the Mets, the weekend of May the 16th through the 18th is when the Mets come to the Bronx in mid-May, when Soto returns. Let me see the Yankees put up 30 runs in 2 games against those teams. And if they do, then we can have a conversation. The overreaction applies both ways. It applies when your team shits the bed, and it also applies when the team looks like World Series champions after the season's first 4 or 5 days. It applies both ways. Now, could the Yankees be better than what I gave them credit for prior to the season? They could be. But I think better in that aspect, is 92 games and division champion. Maybe. I don't see them winning any more than 93 games. I don't see them making it to the ALCS. I don't see them winning the American League, going to the World Series. They could drop 50 runs on the Brewers. Doesn't change anything in my eyes in the grand scheme of things. Call me a Yankee hater, call me whatever. It's just I'm not going to take a lot of stock in them beating up on a team that's going to be, about third or fourth place in one of the worst divisions in baseball. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Also, I didn't have it written on my sheet real quick. I'm not concerned about the Mets. I wanted to bring them up too. Not concerned about the Mets. Lost opening series to the Houston Astros over the weekend. Bullpen is strong. Starting pitching was relatively strong for throughout the course of the weekend. Soto hit his first home run as a Met, if you care, on Friday night, even though he left the game in the palm of his hands and came up small in the final at bat on opening day on Thursday. I'm not concerned about the Mets. Only thing is that the bats eventually got to wake up. Starting pitching, bullpens carrying their weight. They haven't, they were not blown out in any games that they played on, this weekend. 1-run loss on Saturday night. Lost close game with monumental runs on the bases and at the plate with Soto on Thursday. Obviously took care of business and got their first W of the season on Friday night. So obviously nothing to be overly concerned about the Mets. They didn't embarrass themselves by any stretch of the imagination. There's no sense of early panic, with the Mets compared to, say, if you were a Tiger or a Braves fan. But they do got to find themselves they got to find themselves in a burn within their belly for their offense, to wake up a little bit, because offensively that lineup is too talented for it to be, in the words of Frank the Tank, as feeble as it was the opening weekend of the year. I mean, they put up 1 run on Thursday, 3 runs on Friday, and 1 run on Saturday. It's not sustainable, and in the long term, it's not going to do this team a tremendous favor and a tremendous justice if runs are going to be hard to come by going forward this season. They got to be able to get their rhythm and to get their sea legs underneath them offensively at the plate. They got too much talent there offensively for them to put together these 1, 2, 3 run performances. It's not going to be good enough. The Phillies can slug, the Padres can hit, the Dodgers obviously can hit, and then the opponents they got, obviously interleague, Red Sox, Orioles, Yankees. As of now, they got to be able, and I think that they will. No panic, obviously, but that's just a minor takeaway. Their bats and their offense was completely non-existent for the most part this past weekend against the Houston Astros down at Minute Maid Park. So that's another. I didn't have them on my sheet, but I thought about the Mets just in that 30 seconds just now. In terms of college basketball, Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, it left a lot to be desired, to be quite honest with you. You really had the one great game, which was the first game on Saturday. Outside of that, you really didn't have much. Quickly, in terms of the Sweet 16 games, because obviously we did shows to preview the Sweet 16 games, not really so much to recap them, but Alabama shot the lights out, and I can kind of use their game between BYU and their game against Duke kind of sort of as this little bridge. When they had such an incredible historic performance offensively against BYU, where they shot them out of the building and were absolutely electric and borderline unstoppable from 3-point range. They put up 113 points, shot 53% from the field, damn near 50% exactly from three. 25 of 51 shots were made beyond the arc. I mean, they couldn't do no wrong offensively with the basketball in their possession. So you figured that was going to have a hard time translating to the Duke game, going up against one of the better basketball teams and one of the more fundamentally sound and well-rounded basketball teams, obviously not just in all of college basketball throughout the course of the regular season, but certainly still standing left in the tournament now and at the time earlier this past weekend. So you had to figure that their offense was going to cool off heading into the Duke game the other day. And obviously Marcus Spears, but Mark Sears, not Marcus Spears. Shout out to him, Swagoo on ESPN. But Mark Sears, obviously, who had a sensational game against BYU, 34 points, 10 of 16 from three, and just completely cooled off. Now, give John Shire and the Duke team and coaching staff credit. They put together a damn good game plan defensively to take him away and to take him and his three-point shooting out of the game. And Alabama had their hands full trying to basically put up similar numbers like they did against BYU against Duke, trying to operate and try to put together an offensive game plan around Sears being shut down for the most part. So you give Duke credit for that, but Duke, they're a wagon. Cooper Flagg, best player in the country, does a little bit of everything, passes well, a transcendent scorer, plays good defense. He does not hesitate to get his hands dirty in the low post, blocking shots. He's an absolute menace both ways on the basketball court. He has been for Duke throughout this entire season. He was, and he reinforced it with an excellent performance against Alabama on Saturday. I mean, he's just a sensational basketball player. And I wanted to see Duke tested. I'm still waiting. I guess I'm going to have to wait till next Saturday, Final Four, to see Duke play a white knuckler game that's going to go down to the wire. But Alabama, had a solid season in the grand scheme of things, nothing to be ashamed of. It's just, Duke's too good. Duke's too good, and Cooper Flagg, best player against best player. Cooper Flagg's better than Mark Sears, and we learned that with the affairs over the weekend. You had a feeling Maryland and Kevin Willard should be ashamed of himself, just the way that he has handled this entire ordeal. And I understand he doesn't have a boss in things in terms of the athletic department and within the basketball program at College Park is a little bit murky and unstable right now because they don't have an athletic director. But for him to basically carry himself and to be as disingenuous, and I don't want to use the word slimy per se, but just not openly truthful and trustworthy, and how he's managed this entire ordeal with his future with the University of Maryland and the prospective opportunity that he ended up getting at Villanova. How he just went about it was bad. I mean, all you literally had to do was listen. I understand that there's rumors and conversation about me joining Villanova. This is where I stand. Be as truthful and just be as upfront and as honest as you humanly possible can be. That does not burn the bridge of respect between you and your locker room, you and the school, you and obviously the Terrapin basketball fan base. Just be as upfront and as forthcoming as humanly possible, and then say, you know what, we'll handle that once the season ends. My job right now is to lock in and focus on the Florida Gators. But for him to basically say, I don't know what I'm doing. My agents talk. They do this, they do that. My wife doesn't know. My agent knows this. My wife doesn't know that. I haven't talked to her about this. I haven't talked to her about that. Just for him to be, he almost, I understand he was in a gray area, murky water situation where he really, and maybe, take him at his word. Truthfully, he really didn't know what the hell was going on. But there's a way to display that when you talk to the media in a way where you don't come across as come across, for lack of a better word, as an aloof bozo. And he came across at times when he was met with questions by the media throughout the course of the week leading into the Florida game that he basically didn't know his ass from his elbow one way or the other. And he could have handled himself and could have handled this situation much, 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 much better, to the point where it didn't essentially become a big ass distraction that overwhelmed the week for Florida, coming off of a thrilling game the Sunday before, going into their toughest task of the year, and having the assignment of playing the baddest and most electric, on fire team, arguably, in all of college basketball, in the Florida Gators, to advance to a regional final. It's just the whole situation it was not good. How Kevin Willard handled it, how the university handled it, and the writing was on the wall, by Wednesday or Thursday, that Maryland was not going to have a prayer in this game unless Florida just simply showed up to the arena and forgot to show up. Mark Clayton, Walter Clayton, locked himself in a closet somewhere and refused to come out and play the game under something Jurassic would have had to have happened to give Maryland a prayer heading into that game on Thursday. So I figured they weren't going to be very competitive in that game on Thursday, and obviously Willard backdoors and moonwalks his ass up the 95 highway to take the job up in Philly to be the Villanova Wildcats' new head basketball coach. So just how he went. Have some shame, will you please? He's simply taking questions about it, talking to the media, and he openly admits that he hasn't even had any conversations with his wife. Now, if he's telling the truth on that, it's a bad job by him, because how in the hell do you not have your loved ones keyed into what your possible next career move could be? And if he's lying, shame on him there, because you owe it to the university, especially after you've given them such a tremendous season where, you were 2 wins away from going to the Final Four round. You owe it to the university, your players, and everyone else that I've previously mentioned. You owe it to them to be as forthright and as truthful as humanly possible. And he wasn't. So, he's going to have to live with that, and he's going to have to, answer the questions when he has his introductory press conference at Villanova, now that the cat's officially out of the bag, no pun intended. But how he just went about that was just completely it was very unbecoming and very unprofessional, to say the least. I got no problems if you want to kill Calipari, by the way, for his Arkansas team, and I bet Arkansas in a 3-leg parlay. I had the Duke team over. I had the over collectively for BYU and Alabama, 2 picks that obviously hit, and I had Arkansas on the money line. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, about to play Jay-Z and Biggie Smalls, I Love the Dough into the Thursday night, into the wee hours of Friday morning. I was, just got paid. Shout out Johnny Kemp, was about to blare that sumbitch into the wee hours of Friday morning, because I was saying to myself, oh, Arkansas got a 16-point lead. Coach Calipari is going to take his team to the Elite Eight. Here we go. After getting bounced one and done by Oakland, his last game he coached with Kentucky in the NCAA, he's going to take his team all the way to the Elite Eight. Here we go. Yes, sir. And then 16-point deficit, and they just went in the toilet. Defensive laxes, couldn't throw the ball and couldn't make a big-time basket to put themselves out in front by a substantial margin, late in the second half. And then obviously in the overtime, once the game went in overtime, unless they got out to a quick 5-0, 10-0 run, they weren't going to win that game. And at least I thought so as a Arkansas backer that bet them. I was like, they're not winning this game. When they get overtime, they're going to keep it close. It's going to come down to maybe a final possession or 2 late. in the overtime period, final 20 to 15 seconds. They're not going to win this game. Lo and behold, they didn't. So Texas Tech got to the Elite Eight by virtue of a comeback and one team's collapse, and then they sent Florida to the Final Four by virtue of a collapse. I'll get to that later on. In terms of the Friday festivities, Purdue, even with the home court advantage defensively, the lapse, and give Calvin Sampson tremendous credit for drawing up that inbounds play to get that go-ahead basket there in the closing seconds of the second half on Friday night. It's funny in that situation when you inbound underneath the basket, you make sure it's just human nature where you have all the other four players out there on the floor. You have them guarded in a straight jacket off the ball, and nobody ever thinks of covering the inbounder. That all he has to do is just take one step in bounds. He receives a pass, and he's right there underneath the basket to make the easy layup. And, good job by Coach Sampson thinking outside of the box with that excellent, beautiful play design, which ended up being the difference maker in the game. And throughout the course of the night, Houston's defense, one of the best units in all of college basketball, and that, my friends, is going to be a dandy of a game. Them and Duke coming up in the Final Four, which I get to later on in the week. Outside of that, really not that much, takeaway. You can't say too much about Tennessee and Michigan State and their wins on Friday because they ended up getting bounced yesterday, which I'll get to. But Saturday's action, give Florida tremendous credit. They showed great resolve, great mental toughness, and overcoming that deficit late. And it was funny because I was watching, I was sitting there watching the game, and the TBS cameras put their camera on, put a camera shot on this little kid that was a Florida fan with about 4 minutes to go, and his head was in his shirt. And they caught him, wiping his eyes with the inside of his shirt, and you could tell by how wet his eyelashes were that he just got done crying. And I was saying to myself, I was like, damn, this little kid's going through it already. Yes, there's a little bit of a deficit, but there's 4 minutes left. Damn good team. They haven't lost, it feels like, in 2 months at this point. You're giving up, you're throwing in the towel, you're getting all you're going through your 5 stages of grief already. There's still this damn good team, my man. This is, still plenty of basketball left. And then lo and behold, as soon as I had that thought in my head and I said it to myself watching the game in my living room on Saturday afternoon, lo and behold, a few moments later, Alabama's offense went into overdrive. Their defense stepped up, and they miraculously found themselves ahead and sent themselves to the Final Four by virtue of a 5.84-79 victory over Texas Tech. But as soon as Walter Clayton's shot went in to get his three-pointer went in to give Florida the lead with roughly a minute to go in regulation, I tweeted at the time and said, I wonder if that young Florida fan that was crying his eyeballs out when they were down with 4 minutes ago, I wanted TBS in the worst way to put the camera back on him next. I guarantee you he was grinning and he was smiling from ear to ear. I was like, listen, especially in a game of basketball where it's a game of runs and a big time lead with 4 minutes to go, unlike football, it's a lot harder to sustain, a 8 to 10 to 12 point lead with 4 minutes to go late in the game in basketball, obviously, than it is in football, because it's a game of runs. You can go on a 17 or a 12-0 run just like that. So once he hit that shot, you knew that it was GG's for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And give Walter Clayton Jr. tremendous credit how he's been able to step up throughout the course of this tournament. Stepped up and had a tremendous game last Sunday, obviously 2 Sundays ago, to knock off the back-to-back defending champ UConn Huskies. And then on Saturday afternoon, 30 points, 7 of 14 from the field was absolutely magnificent, damn near automatic from the free throw line. So he was absolutely magnificent. Give Florida and head coach Golden all the credit in the world for battling back and showing great fight, great resolve, because you easily could have said, we haven't lost in a hot minute. We've been on an absolute heater. We won the SEC conference tournament. We took out the back-to-back defending champions. We're down late in the second half. We can easily throw in the towel, throw our hands up and say, you know what? It is what it is. We had a nice run, but we just ran out of steam. They easily could have had all the excuses in the book that they could have given themselves late in the fourth quarter when the shit was about to hit the fan, and they could have easily thrown in the towel, half-assed it, and basically taken the L and gone home. And they refused to do so and showed great grit in a tremendous comeback over Texas Tech to send themselves to the Final Four. And then the games on Sunday, were just completely uneventful. Tennessee, battle of the two great defenses, but when Tennessee meets a defense that's tougher than theirs, the patented Rick Barnes treatment where they just are uncompetitive, which they were, especially early to start. We got to about 2-3 minutes left to go in the first half, and Tennessee was still stuck in single digits, for crying out loud, with 8 points. So they just were uncompetitive, a complete no-show. Houston's offense has evolved, obviously, this year compared to last and in the previous seasons going back. They put together a tremendous defensive masterclass, 69-50 over Tennessee. And then, obviously, Auburn and Michigan State. Janai Broome showed good toughness, had the injury to his arm, came back in the game. Granted, he did score 25 points in 10 of 13 from the field. So you got Auburn and Houston and Duke and Florida advancing to the Final Four. 2 SEC teams. They were the best conference at the entire regular season, and it showed and bared its fruit as to why. 2 teams in the Final Four from the SEC, Duke from the ACC, and Houston from the Big 12. So we'll get to the Final Four and preview that in bulk and in great detail coming up on Friday. Now, lastly, and I'm only going to talk about this once, and that's this asinine, infantile Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James beef. I expect better. If it's somebody that's in their 20s, around my age, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 years of age, I get it. If it's college, 18, 19, 20, I get it. I get it. Not that it makes it right, but I get it. With youth comes also, at times, more often than not, an episode of immaturity and childish or childlike behavior every now and again, especially if you're a professional athlete or somebody that's in the public eye. I get, not excusing the behavior, but I get it. But for both of these gentlemen to be grown ass men, Stephen A. Smith, what was he born in 1968? So that would make him 56 years old. Stephen A. Smith is 56. 56. 56. LeBron James is 40. 40. 40. The combined age of these gentlemen is 96. You would think 2 men with a combined age of 96, 156, 140 years of age, 2 grown men, grown accomplished men, 2 grown accomplished men that came from humble beginnings, worked their asses off to get where they are, and 2 men right now are the most recognizable within their respective fields, the 2 most recognizable, 2 most popular, polarizing, well-known, and powerful individuals within the basketball community, within the sports broadcasting community, collectively within the world of American sports, on the media side and within the actual athlete side. These two, if you're a sports fan by any shape, way, or form, and live in this country, you know who Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James are. You know. We are on a first name basis with them. The old line in Uptown Funk, say my name, you know who I am. LeBron, Stephen A., you know who both of those guys are. For better or for worse, regardless of what you think about them personally and professionally, they have accomplished that. They also are two of the most valued and two of the more high earning individuals within their field. LeBron in the NBA, and whether you want to talk about his NBA contract or include his endorsement deals, leave that up to you to quibble. And certainly Stephen A. Smith just got done signing, $100 million contract extension with ESPN over the span of the next 5 years. So these two guys, not only are they recognizable and historically successful, they also have found a way to make a substantial amount of life-changing, legacy-defining money in doing what they do. Talking into a microphone and dribbling and shooting a basketball for a living. Both of these two guys also are black men. Black men. And it depresses me, it angers me, it frustrates me, it annoys me when I see two gentlemen that came from nothing and somehow parlayed themselves by virtue of God's grace and hard work, busting their ass, not taking any prisoners, and just getting down, dirty, and nasty with the work. It pisses me off when I see two guys that work their asses off to be where they are today, to belittle themselves and belittle one another over a pathetic, minute, infantile disagreement over what? Bronny James and him being an NBA player. It's not like a personal thing. Somebody insulted or disrespected one another's, significant other or mom or anything like that, or one of those things. This is over a petty disagreement over Bronny James, the basketball player. This is all it comes down to. And I'm not on, and if you simply want to cut to the chase and just ask, well, Jai, whose side are you on? I'm not on anybody's side. Both of them are egregiously wrong in this ongoing beef. Because first off, before I even get to the minute details, what's there to be gained? What's there to be won in this? If you're Stephen A. Smith, what's there to be gained? No matter how many times you scream and yell, no matter how many podcast episodes you put out, no matter how much time you take up, 5 shows, 2 hours, you got 10 hours of first take a week. You could dedicate all 10 hours to talking about this beef, talking about Bronny. If at the end of the day, LeBron James is hell-bent on having a different viewpoint than you, you're not going to change his mind. So you're beating your head up against a brick wall. In all due respect, these are two of the most, again, all due respect, no disrespect when I say this, but y'all know this. These are two of the most stubborn, egotistical, headstrong individuals within the world of sports God has ever created. It attributes to their greatness and what they've accomplished, and also it has pointed to their deficiencies and shortcomings. No shame, no shade, no condemnation. We all got flaws. We all got issues. We're all imperfect people. I am no different. But you hear it all the time. You hear it sometimes when we talk about and we evaluate all-time greats within the arts, entertainment, music, and sports industry, how one individual's greatest strength or greatest asset within their personality, within their chemical makeup that makes them who they are as a person and as somebody, an athlete, a coach, a art artist, a musical artist, a musician, with this, that, and the third, an actor. Their greatest strength can also be or can lead to their biggest downfall or their biggest flaw as an individual, personally or professionally. And I think with these two guys, it's no different. They're as egotistical and as headstrong and as stubborn as a mule. And when those two are set in their ways and convicted on an opinion or on a viewpoint, you're going to have a hard time talking them off the ledge and trying to convince them otherwise. Again, no shade, but it's just who it is. So I would think that both of these guys knowing, I mean, it's like watching two bulls or two rams in a ring go at it. No matter how many times they charge at each other 100 miles an hour with their head down and their rams pointed up like this, no matter how many times they collide with one another, unless something goes catastrophically wrong, they're not going to lose any ground or make any dent on one another's stance. So again, why are we wasting our time with this? LeBron is set in his ways about how he thinks and how he feels about his son being in the NBA, and Stephen A is set in his ways and is convicted on how he feels. And neither one of these two gentlemen is going to change anybody else's mind or the rest of America's mind, for that matter, going at it publicly over something as stupid as this. It's just, there's nothing to be gained from this. The only thing there is the only thing that is there to be won or lost, and it falls on a lost coin, and it's for both of these guys and their reputation. It's for LeBron James coming across in a lot of people's eyes as a sensitive, immature, narcissistic man-child that can't take it and can't handle when people within the basketball landscape don't bow down to his altar and kiss the ring, quote unquote, and feed into his God complex. And then Stephen A also comes across as looking bad because in the midst of Stephen A basically trying to do whatever he can to basically find a chink in the LeBron James's armor, he also comes across as as just as petty and just as immature and unprofessional. Drawing outsiders' names into the conversation to try to find ammunition to provide ammo for his LeBron beef, for his retorts, for his rebuttals to whatever it is LeBron James has to say about Stephen A. It's just, and bringing other people into it. And LeBron James wasn't at this and didn't show up for this person, that person, and rumored to do this and rumored to. It's just, why go there? Why go into the muds and go into the weeds to prove this inane point that has no substantial end game? I don't get it. And Stephen A comes across as, as a LeBron James quote unquote hater per se, not like a hater as in like, a troll that's on the internet, but like the likes of like the Skip Baylesses of the world that will go to the ends of the earth to discredit and to hate on another grown ass man within the professional sports landscape. And that does not translate and or come across as an endearing quality to have as a professional sports commentator and broadcaster. Doesn't look good. When you associate yourself with Skip Bayless in that aspect, that's not an endearing quality that you want to have, especially if you want a career to last another 15 to 20 something years. And you don't want to be looked at in the same vein as Skip Bayless is in 2025. You don't. Plain and simple. I don't care how you can say stay off the weed. How many times did the cows come home, make fun of the Cowboys, this, that, and the third with the shtick and be a walking meme every single time? It means nothing. You can cuss out Jason Whitlock till you're blue in the face. You don't want to go down that path. So it's just it's so unbecoming. It's so disappointing. It really is. And if you're LeBron James, listen, Stephen A feels a certain way about your son being in the NBA. And in fairness to Stephen A, he's not the only one that thinks this way also. You're going to have to deal with it. And the fact that LeBron James, for older, or excuse me, the more older he has become throughout his NBA career, he's not 30, he's not 20, he's not 25, he's not 27, he's 40. For a 40-year-old grown-ass man that's been in the NBA for over 20 years, that's been in the public eye a little bit longer than that, who is a concrete billionaire at that, between his business ventures, endorsement deals, on top of his NBA contracts that he's accumulated and the money that he's earned over the 20 plus years, on top of the fact he's going to go down where you think he's a GOAT or not. He's gone down, if he never dribbles another basketball again, automatic top 5, top 3 greatest basketball player in the history of the NBA, and certainly one of the more statistically accomplished, not to mention 4-time NBA champion, not to mention the game's active all-time leading scorer. All the big-ass resume that LeBron James, the basketball player, the public figure, the sportsman, the celebrity, all of that, on top of him being grown-ass man, 40 years of age, family man, for him to be this fucking sensitive and to be so thin-skinned and to be so narcissistic and to be so full of himself to put that he can't take that one of the more polarizing and well-known and famous sports pontificators on television and digital media alike can't agree with the notion of why and how his son is in the, for him to be so, he's got to get over that. So what? Stephen A doesn't think your son is worthy to be in the NBA and is worthy enough to be a two-way NBA player on the Lakers, and thinks that you as a dad should not be on this path that he feels is setting him up, being Bronny up. He says that he thinks that you disagree. Tough. Get the hell over it. Cry yourself a river, build yourself a bridge, and get the hell over it. It's just, he's gonna get over it. Get over it. So what? Stephen A. Smith, as big and as popular as he is, he does not kiss the ring of the likes of the Nick Wrights of the world. Who gives a fuck? And the Shannon Sharps. Who gives a damn? So what? Tough. He's in the business of giving supposedly unbiased, objective NBA opinions, takes, takeaways, analysis, whatever word you want to use, on all things NBA basketball, especially when it comes to the Los Angeles Lakers. If you don't like what he has to say, tough. Get the hell over it, LeBron. He is not entitled to, he is not obligated contractually, emotionally, or otherwise to kiss the ring of everything that you touch or your name first or last is attached to. He's not obligated to kiss the ring and say that everything that you touch turns to gold. He's not obligated, and he doesn't have to. He doesn't work for you. He works for ESPN. And with his own podcast, he works for himself. Granted, and this is where Stephen A. falls into fault, because his ego, with how big he's become and how much money he's made, his ego also in turn has grown to such a substantial point where it's gone unchecked, to the point where he feels like that he is bigger than the athletes and bigger than the sports that he gets paid to talk about. There is no LeBron James, there's no NBA, there is no LA Lakers, there's no Stephen A. Smith. But also, next sentence, he doesn't directly need LeBron James in order for Stephen A. Smith to make his paper. So indirectly, he does need LeBron. He does need the Lakers. He does need the NBA. He needs professional sports to keep the Stephen A. Smith machine going. But directly speaking, literally speaking, he doesn't. He technically, indirectly needs them, but directly he doesn't. Because, and I don't know Stephen A. Smith personally from Adam, but I can guarantee you when he gets his notice on his bank statements, when it comes time for him to look at the column of the person that direct deposited his check for the week, I guarantee you LeBron James, LA Lakers, Genie Bus is not anywhere on his bank statements. So he doesn't have to kiss he is not represented by Clutch Sports. He's not a former NBA player that is represented by the Clutch Sports brand. He doesn't have to bow down and kiss the ring either out of glazing worship or fear. He doesn't have to worry about and check his back and watch his back for the Clutch Sports Mafia. He doesn't have to kiss the ring of the Clutch Sports Mafia. He's Stephen A. Smith. Now, I think that Stephen A. knows that, and it goes to his head, so much so that he feels like he is on some levels bigger than LeBron James or bigger than the game of basketball. But the idea that how dare Stephen A. not kiss the ring of LeBron is absolutely ludicrous. If LeBron James can't handle it, he's going to have to get the fuck over it. He's got enough ring kissers and glazers within the NBA community, whether it's coaches, contemporaries within his players association, teammates, and he's got enough glazers and ass kissers within and around the NBA to last a lifetime. So what? Stephen A., the biggest name in sports media and sports broadcasting today, isn't one of them. He'll live. Trust me, he'll live. You can sit up here and say that the criticisms and the knocking of Stephen A. off his big ass horse and pedestal is warranted. You can make the argument and make the statement in that, and you'd be 100% right and arguably justified in doing so. But in the nature of how, or I should say the premise in which LeBron James is motivated and by doing so is completely and utterly out of line. Out of line. He said, well, speaking as a father, you can say that Stephen A. maybe was out of pocket or talking out of school and saying that, but in which the context and within the nature and the attitude in which how he said and the point that he made about LeBron and Bronny and him being in the nature and the context of how Stephen A. said it was not over the line and was not obnoxiously egregious or disrespectful by any stretch of the imagination. And trust me, we know how Stephen A. can get when he wants to make a point in his signature brash and harsh and bombastic tone. And that was not one of those occasions. And if LeBron or anybody in his camp thinks otherwise, they need to man the fuck up and get real and get serious and do a little bit of growing up, because this is some pathetic, disgusting, immature, nonsensical, egregious nonsense. To grown ass men, 56 and 40 years of age, going back and forth and playing the dozens with one another, and getting all personal and getting involved in pissing matches like a bunch of fucking teenage high schoolers. It's a joke. To grown men with power and influence that thousands upon thousands of kids, especially black ones, by the way, look up to, respect in one way or another, and admire. And look to as a role model and as an example to model themselves after, as a professional athlete, as a basketball player, someone that wants to go into sports bar, whatever the case might be. And for them to show their natural black asses to the masses for black America to see, and worse off for white America to see, and this fucking climate we live in today? With who we got in the White House is absolutely unacceptable. And every last one of them should be, both of you should be ashamed of your damn selves. Grow up. You're 56 and 40 years of age. Start acting like it. Got more money than God, more power and influence you can shake a stick at, and y'all going back and forth over something just as fucking benign and stupid. Like a bunch of fucking 13-year-old kids. It's enough. LeBron, your team's in the midst of a fucking playoff push, and you're sitting up here running your own fucking gossip column with Pat McAfee and shit. Like you Cat Williams on Club Shay Shay or some shit. Lock in. It's no surprise he blew the game for the Bulls on Thursday night, because he's more focused on playing fucking Wendy Williams than he is being a damn basketball player. What a joke. You see the ticker. Follow me on my socials. Until Friday. Talk to y'all next time.